encourage them to come to that session. You're not being rude, you are not failing to help them, all right? You know, if they continue on, say, you know what, we have some great staff that are always at the Wagner office, why don't you go talk to one of them, and we'll make sure that we're getting, you know, you help, because sometimes students become frantic. I had an incident this spring with a student who came in, and she had really gotten to the point where she recognized that she had test anxiety, right? And so when she came into the office and we talked to her a little bit, it was one of those crazy days on my end where it would have been ideal to see her the next day, right? I said, well, why don't we meet up tomorrow morning, go think about it today, exactly what do you feel? You know, I kind of gave her a couple things to reflect on. She wouldn't leave the office. She just wouldn't leave. I mean, she was in such a state with her test anxiety, and somebody had said, come to our office. So there are just some strange things that happen, and that's when folks like Elizabeth, myself, will step in and help you. Okay, a student's like, but my Spanish test is 2 days from now. I will be honest with you, I have like this ticker running through my head of different thoughts. But my goal is to try to help that student either know what we've got available, or maybe go over the foreign language lab, right? That is not something that you have to spend 30 minutes going through a student with. You're to tell them when your weekly sessions are, and you're to help direct them to our office if they need greater assistance, okay? And every once in a while you kind of get caught in class, I recognize that. You know, the student's just kind of going on. But you are also a student, and you deserve to be in spaces where you are seen as a student, not always as a tutor. And I don't ever want you to feel bad about kind of putting up your guard, if you look at it that way, or kind of putting a boundary. And if you have trouble with it, come back with me, I'll give you some other feedback. All right? Anything else kind of in this front?
I don't think so, but I do want to make sure we're talking about these eval sheets.
Thank you, yeah. Wait, I think I already did it. I was ahead. So you've got a hat sheet, so let's go ahead and just make sure you put this presentation on, which I believe we're calling Developing Cultural Competencies. And as you do that, I'm going to kind of give you an overview of this session. Yep, that's perfect. All right. My background, especially for those of you who've known me now for a semester, definitely comes from developing communities. That's what's important to me. Inclusive communities. And as I have read over the last few months about how in classroom settings we can send signals that are both inclusive and exclusive, that is where the idea for this presentation began. I also want us to think about ways, as we're going through it here for about the next hour, of ways that as we're thinking about our tutoring spaces, so we're contextualizing them, is the goal. We're trying to understand what happens in these spaces. You're thinking about how that can come across through Socratic method, right? Those questions that we ask, as well as the real basics, right? The language that we portray, both verbally and non-verbally, and so forth. And I'll walk us through that. But this is very important to me that we as a group commit to creating spaces that students want to come to, and then they talk about them. I have no doubt we've done that in the past. Right? I really don't have any doubt. I just really want to revisit that and make sure that we're on the same page for those of you returning, and new folks, you feel like you have some more tools to be able to do this, because it's a really large task that we ask of each of you. But before we do that, we're going to get up, okay? So when we get up, so hold tight for a second, we're going to make 2 lines right down the middle here, okay? And what I would ideally like is for this line where I'm standing facing the wall to be all of our returners. And then on this side, I would like for all of our new team members to be, okay? So you don't need anything but yourselves. See if you can do that, and we'll figure out what our numbers look like. All right, so find your partner across the way, and then keep shuffling down, because I know we have more new team members than we have returning. So I just want to make sure that we've done our best. Everybody, show me if you don't have a partner by hands. Okay? All right, Maddie, I'm going to have you just come over here, because I know we're in different settings. Okay? And we're still missing a part here. I'm trying to think who came to which session, you know what I'm saying? So I can find you somebody you don't know as well. Hang on, I'm just thinking through it. Sullivan, can I get you to come down here? Alden, can I get you to come down here? I'm going to take you two with me, and I know we're not quite even yet. Jonathan, Seth, I'm trying to think. Did you right here? Austin, you came yesterday, didn't you? Oh, you Thursday. Okay, excellent. You guys scoot down more. Hopefully we don't know each other too well. And then, who still doesn't have a partner? feel like I've missed somebody. Everybody, really? We did it? Sometimes I do math well. All right, not every day, people. Okay, so from this point forward, you don't get to talk. But that doesn't seem to be a problem this morning, so I think we're okay. All right, now, what I need you to do is both parties from either side are going to walk in towards each other as closely as you can. All right, go. Okay, we are. Elizabeth, can I pull you for?
Of course.
Are you about to roll? Okay, so we'll just flip over. We're good. Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, you feeling pretty good, huh? Right? Yeah. All right. Take one more step in. Now we're gonna play a little game. Okay? I need you to make eye contact with the person across. Right? Right? Okay.
You're not doing it. You're not doing it.
Eye contact. All right, I'll give you a minute to kind of get your giggles out. Okay? Now, I need my phone. I gotta find my phone. Okay? So for 1 minute, I love these faces. The idea is that we are looking into the eyes of the other. All right? We cannot talk, we cannot giggle, so on and so forth, because we're going to see which couple can actually last. All right? So you have to stare at each other's eyes. I feel like are we at a disadvantage over here? Are we feeling okay?
Next turn, I'm afraid.
Are you next turn? Right? Oh, we got some seriousness going on here. Do you want a different partner before we get going? You can make it happen. Okay, I do appreciate that accommodation. All right, so find your partner's eyes. There's no talking. There's no giggling. Right? There's nothing. If that happens to either you or your partner, you're out. We're going to see how long we can last. Go. I will give you updates as to time. Okay, you're out. Okay. Still going. Feel free to find your seats. Okay, once you're out, keep going. Keep going. Okay. See if I can give you a time update here. Okay. We're at 35 seconds. Yep, so we're just staring at each other. No talking. If you look away, that's also out, if I didn't clarify that earlier. Blinking is fine, I'm not going to be like that. All right. Wow. You're doing well. I'm impressed. We're almost to a minute. Okay, minute. I will tell you right now, those of you still going, right? I will not let this go longer than 3 minutes. Oh, I saw movement over there. You're out. Oh, look at the people. Look at the people. Right. Oh, okay, take your seats if you're no longer participating. That way we can watch with intensity to those who are still staring. I feel like I need some camera work here. Keep going because I got to take me 12 minutes to use the camera. All right. This is great. Okay, you're doing well. Great. Let's see where we're at time-wise. All right, 1 minute and 45 seconds. Oh, I didn't get this coming. I'm watching. Elizabeth, you watch those two crew, and I watch these two just to make sure that we're not letting them by with anything. A smile, anything at this point is fair game for being out. Oh, I saw a nod. Gage, you're done. You're done. Oh, yeah. I didn't get the picture. I'm disappointed. All right. Yep, just staring. Okay, let's see where we're at time-wise. 45 seconds left. Yeah, they are. Okay. I know we're going to pump. Okay, 30 seconds left. Okay. 15 seconds left. Oh my goodness. I didn't bring prizes, don't be mad. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 2. All right, let's give it up. That is impressive. Most of the time, groups that I'm working with, they know it. Right? All right, how was that? Let's hear some feedback. Uncomfortable? Interesting? What else?
I've done it before, and this time it was easier.
This time it was easier because you've done it before? Okay. Yeah? Anybody else? No, it had no impact on you. That's the response I'm getting. Not at all. I mean, that is not what I witnessed from listening to you and watching. What did it feel like?
Awkward, so you just want to laugh.
It's awkward, so yeah, you want to laugh. It's interesting, isn't it, how laughing is such a response to those awkward spaces in our lives and moments. Yeah. Yes, sir.
For me, the longer we did it, the more comfortable I was with doing it. So like at first it was, like, oh my God, on the inside I was kind of like, oh, I can't wait to stop, I want to laugh, but as a minute, 2 minutes got, oh, it's not that bad.
Okay, so you kind of eased into it after a while. Yeah. Do you think, yes, I'm sorry.
I was going to say you really want to communicate to make sure you're not the creepy one.
Okay. What do you mean by communicate so you're not the creepy one?
Just like smile or, make sure that you're both on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah, and what's another way to make sure you're on the same page?
Saying anything or nodding or something like that.
Okay, I appreciate what you're bringing up there, right? Because she's talking about the verbal and the nonverbal pieces of communication.
I wanted to not let my partner down, so I tried my best not to laugh.
Okay, yeah, that accountability piece to another person, right? I mean, there's a different element when you put a little competition in, right? What was it like when I asked you to move forward towards each other? Stephanie's like, no, but I'm going to do it because you told me to, right? Is that okay? Can you elaborate on that? Sorry to put words in your mouth.
Well, it's intimidating because Jack is my partner. He's so much taller than I am. So I'm like looking up and leaning back. I just felt like I was about to fall over.
Well, I looked over once and Jack was like already in the activity. Like I haven't even given all the instructions and he's just looking at me. I'm like, okay, well, I thought you might last though. I mean, I was kind of anticipating.
Opposite, my partner was on the same height as ours. So as we were stepping in towards each other, we're right here.
So now you're like this face-to-face thing, right? What's that like for you guys? For most of us, when we think about our personal space, how would you describe it? Okay, so we kind of use our arms. I see some people going, no, it's like this, right? Right? I used to not at all be a hugger. Not at all. Like, I was very much like, yep, like you, you're good, thank you, stay right over there. Now I can't give enough hugs, right? It's just things that change us in life as we grow, right? But for some of us, this is just too uncomfortable. Have you ever, those of you returning, have you ever had a student in one of your sessions get uncomfortably close?
Yeah.
Yes? What was that like, if you don't mind me pulling on that?
I mean, it's just kind of weird because, so the student's sitting here and I'm here, and they're in my personal space. So it's like I need some space to be able to write stuff down for you and teach you. You should. It kind of makes me not able to kind of focus as well either, because it's kind of uncomfortable, especially because that person is a stranger, and there should be a boundary kind of too, between the tutor and the student. So yeah.
So did you have to vocalize to the student that you needed that space?
I just moved away.
Okay, and do you think the student was able to respond to that
Yes.
movement?
Yeah.
Okay.
They were
Okay.
able to get that.
Because they say, for a long time, research really said that most of our communication was nonverbal, like over 80%. Recent things that I've read say it's closer to 88, maybe even 90%. Our real communication is actually nonverbal. This piece, I mean, we've all been there, right? We've been watching somebody, they're so animated that we haven't heard a thing they've said. But we've watched everything they've done because they're either comical or, again, they're just animated in their presentation style. What else did you experience when we were doing that activity? We talked about being uncomfortable. We've talked about not letting people down, right? What were some other things that went through your mind?
Worrying about coffee breath.
Worrying about coffee breath, yeah. Like how we're going to be perceived, right? So that's kind of a problem. I mean, did you wake up this morning thinking Johnnie-Margaret's going to make me stand really close to somebody else? No, and I mean, look around the room right now in relation to like your space, right? I would kind of argue to all of you that you've kind of claimed your spot at the table, right? And this may even be a little too uncomfortable having these tables so close. Oh, you love each other? Okay. All right, so Josh and Stephanie are good. Look, Josh is like, I'm a god at all.
And I was like way back here, like.
Right? But when we think about the space that we inhabit, what kind of messages do you think that that sends to the students that we're assisting?
We don't want it to be unapproachable.
Okay, yeah, we don't want to be unapproachable, right? But we have to kind of know what we're comfortable with as well. And instinctively, you already know all that. I'm not asking you to make a laundry list of those kinds of things. I just want you to think about how you normally present yourself. The activity that we actually engaged in is titled active listening, right? Because the idea is that we are looking at somebody else, right? And we're hearing them. Because language is multisensory, right? Our actual communication, both verbal and nonverbal in this language patterns, are multisensory. And students will react to us in different ways, and we will present in different ways. All right, so let's get back up and find your partner. Okay? Yeah? She's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? Same partner. Yeah, if you haven't properly introduced yourself, feel free to do that. I hear you. All right, excellent. Now, I'm actually going to give you space to do what you just started doing. All right, so I'm going to give you 3 minutes on the clock for both parties to talk. All right, so we're going to split it in half, and I'm going to have this side go first. All right, and I want you to talk about yourself. All right, the party who is listening, actively listening, and using some of those other sensories, right, to observe. I want you to take note about what they speak of. All right? So, are you ready this time? Introduce ourselves, talk about ourselves. The other piece, and then I'm going to answer your question, sir. The other piece is you cannot speak back. You can only nod. All right? Or something of that effect. You cannot verbally speak.
They speak for 3 whole minutes and then we speak for 3
Nope, you're gonna start and you're gonna introduce yourselves. It's gonna be 3 minutes total, and you'll get a minute and a half.
Gotcha.
So you'll tell us what
I will, completely. Any other questions? All right, so here we go. Minute and a half. This side of the room is going to talk. The other side of the room is going to observe with no verbal response. Go. Oh, they were done. They're like, I am. All right, so folks who talked, I'm going to come to you next, okay? Those who were listening, tell us about what your experience was
You want to ask questions.
like. You want to ask questions.
Like, what do you mean, or
Okay.
you want to know?
Okay, you want to know more. Yeah. Maybe somebody from this side?
To be able to relate, like you said, in Georgia, or in Spanish, it's like, oh, that's a little bit different, or something like that.
So you wish to relate. No more relate. One more.
I feel like I was being rude or something.
You felt like you were being rude.
Like not contributing.
Right. Did you find other ways to communicate that maybe you don't normally do? Yeah, let's hear. Jackie?
It was like nodding the entire time, thumbs up. I felt like I was having a conversation actually.
You did? Okay. All right, way to go, Jack. We're gonna put you on the spot. Okay. Anybody else?
Just nodding like a lot.
Just nodding a lot. Did you eventually kind of feel pearls like, yes, I was like doing this, okay? So those of you who were speaking, I'm coming back to those of you who listened, okay? So think about while they're talking, what it was they spoke of. What was it like for you to speak to somebody who could not verbalize their response back?
I felt entirely responsible for the conversation. I had to keep talking, or like, the silence was all my fault. You know, that was all on me.
Okay, so the silence is all on you, had to keep talking.
It's hard to find like stimulus to talk about, like, I don't know, talk about myself, or say enough, it's hard to know, like, you know, what to go to next.
Yeah, because I didn't give you a topic, right? I just said introduce you. I guess I gave you introduce yourself, but that was really about it. Yeah, yeah. So where do you go next?
It's hard to stand there and just talk about yourself. Like, I don't know, it's hard for me to just talk about myself. And then when you don't get any feedback, it's kind of like, okay.
I feel like it's more awkward. Because some of us aren't self-sharers. I mean, that's just not how we work. We're going to ask somebody about themselves before we're going to tell about ourselves. It's kind of what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Anybody else who spoke?
Thankfully, she was like nodding and smiling, so like I kind of knew which direction to go. But like if she wasn't giving me any clues at all, I would feel really awkward because like I would feel, oh, are you interested in what I'm saying? Like, do you care? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it would feel bad.
Yeah, again, there's that, are we connecting? Is there actually emotion within that connection kind of thing coming up? So those of you who were listening, what did they talk about? When they talked about themselves, what were things they mentioned?
School.
School, okay. In what way?
Mostly just usual major, you know, here's my internships.
Okay.
What I do.
Okay, great. So these are the facts about me as a student. Okay. What else?
Goals.
Hobbies, excellent. Goals, okay.
She talked about her sibling.
You talked about your sibling, very nice. I like that touch, very sweet. What else? Where they were from.
Dreams, obviously.
Dreams as well, did I hear that? Okay. Dreams.
Very typical, like, elevator speech, and once that was over, connected, which was like, oh, the shirt, oh, I want this thing, so, once he ran out of things, he's like,
Stretching the word out. And some of you who spoke find that, I think I heard that once already, find as a group that it was hard to fill the whole minute and a half. And that was just a minute and a half. I see a lot of nods there, right? A lot of nods. One of the things I'm hearing, and granted we don't have a lot of time to kind of just go down the road, is all of you, when you spoke of yourselves, you kind of talked about who you are as a student, what you're studying, maybe some goals in there, where you're from, kind of this laundry list of identifiers, right, that kind of makes up who we are. I think Saba stepped out there a little bit in relation to, you talking about a family member and what her sister means. But a lot of times when we're in this elevator speech mode, right, that's you're going to ride to the top and you have 30 seconds to sell yourself so that you can get a job, if you're not familiar with that. A lot of times we just tend to give off our basic characteristics, the roles that we tend to play in life, okay? So I did promise you a 3-minute activity, and I know I've taken another like 8 in between the first minute and a half. So what we're going to do now is those who listened, you now get to talk about yourself, okay? Those who spoke, you get to engage the way you wish they would have engaged, if I'd let them, right? So let's put that caveat on. So you're going to minute and a half, but listen to them speak. We're going to hear about them. That's the objective, okay? But you can give all the verbal, nonverbal that you want, right? If I see some strange mugging going on, we're going to have to talk. All right, so here we go, minute and a half, starting now. 5-second countdown this time versus the last time?
I wanted to be possible.
Yeah, you wanted more. I saw you all like, okay, we're gonna be nice. But I'm just now getting to talk, right? So what did that, those of you who spoke first, what was it like to engage with them this time? It was fun? Okay. Yeah, everybody's like, yeah. Yeah, we lifted some of those barriers. Anything else? Yes?
A lot of what you were saying was like in response to what I was saying.
Okay. Did you feel a connection? All right, so a lot of responding, connecting. Did the rest of you kind of feel that way as well? Those who were speaking, what was it like for you? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't want to.
Well, this is the first that we actually had a conversation, so we've known each other for about 15 minutes now.
Okay.
We've stared deeply and longingly at each other. But we haven't exchanged dialogue with one another until this moment. I mean,
No, I think that's a fabulous observation, isn't it? The way this activity kind of plays itself out. The actual, what we think of as genuine dialogue where we connect, if I'm listening to you well, it didn't just happen from the beginning, it's just now. Right? So, very good observation. Those of you on the other side, what was it like for you to talk?
What I said was mostly parallel with what you said at first.
Okay. Did you find that it stayed parallel the whole time?
Not totally, no.
Okay. Why do you think that happened?
It was just to fill time,
Okay.
you know, and this personality.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're going to talk about personality after lunch. Anybody done Myers-Briggs before? Okay, well, we're going to do it again because I do think those things change over time. We're going to hopefully help you use that when, again, kind of expanding on this when you're connecting with others. And some of you who study this area may have some things to add, so please feel free when we get there, okay? Others who just spoke.
It goes by way quicker when you're talking about yourself.
Oh, it does go by quicker for some folks when they're speaking of themselves. So an opposite, right? Sometimes we're in a position where we just really don't feel comfortable being self-disclosed. But in others, for others, it's just one of those, hey, I'm much more attuned to what I know, which is myself, right? And neither is better or worse. It's just how we present ourselves and want to be presented to others. Okay, so it's important to know that about ourselves. So that'll help when we're connecting. One more thing for those of you who just spoke.
It's kind of strange, but you kind of feel a sense of obligation to respond and make up to the talking that she did the first time, trying to open yourself and show her the same way she opened to you. So.
Good, yeah, so because we did this kind of pair and share, there might have been this feeling of, and I think you echo that, I just kind of did what he did, right? And we often do that in conversations, right? We're reading each other on so many levels that we have no idea. It'd be crazy to like hook us up to computers and really see everything that's going on, like from temperature to our brain connections to everything, right? The physiological responses that we have. Because conversations, right, are organic for the most part. And the ones that you're going to have with the students you're assisting are going to vary as much as we've heard they vary among you. But your role as a peer learning assistant is to recognize where they're at. You'll know who you are, but you got to see where they're at, right? Are they comfortable with you getting close? They seem to move back. Do they really not want to share what's going on in class? Well, my teacher told me to come. Well, I'm glad you're here. You know, what do you hope you'll accomplish? I don't know, you just said to come. You know you've seen this, right? Well, that's great. So now that you're here, what can we do? Right? So a lot of times it's you continually directing that conversation. But if you had to choose between the staring, the second option, where you either spoke and could not be spoken back to, or could not speak and were spoken at, or this one, which one would you prefer?
This one.
I hear a second one. Did I hear a second? No, third. Okay, I was like, whoa, we gotta talk about this. Maybe you and I just have to work on your different styles, right? But the third is where most of us want to be, right? And there's some level of engagement. And those of you returning or who have tutored before, would you agree that